I haven't bothered watching Dragon Ball Super since the conclusion of the Future Trunks arc last November, a season which had me coming back as soon as possible each week, but ultimately left me feeling disappointed, to say the least. What began with Frieza and has thus far concluded with Vegito, soon to also feature one with presumably enough destructive power to ruin a southern galaxy, is a series of name drops just for the sake of it. An apologist might say Super is merely fan service and that we should just enjoy it for what it is. But if you ask me, that is not a valid reason for its existence. Nor do I appreciate the way it's trampled upon what was laid to rest by reopening closed story paths and canonically wrecking their characters and endings. I'm talking about Future Trunks here, unfortunately. Now, I grew up with Dragon Ball and would consider myself a pretty big fan of the series, but Super in general just didn't seem all that inviting to me, until the intriguing introduction of Goku Black. Prior to this, we were fed a completely unnecessary reimagining of films that were just released, and it wasn't even quality work. At times, it was piss poor and repellent. I don't care if it's fixed on the Blu-rays. This shit, this garbage, should never have seen the light of day. Toei's budgeting priorities are clearly mistaken if they couldn't channel more into the art and animation of the sequel to one of the most lucrative properties in the industry. Anyway, after the horrendous movie adaptations came the Universe 6 tournament, which I skipped. Like Zelda 2, I'm sorry. Not unlike the rest of Super until then, the tournament had no real stakes, which removed most of the drama. The rest of which was provided by a hitman that was somehow stronger than Saiyans with next-level god forms due to plot necessity. At this point, for me, Super was threatening to become worse than GT, on the premise that I wasn't even willing to watch it anymore. But then... Hey! Future Trunks is coming back! Future Trunks is coming back to the Dragon Ball anime! And there's an evil Goku wearing a single Batara earring! That's how it happened. True story. And we all fell for it. The fandom was reinvigorated immediately. It was the return of one of the series' most popular characters, who had long since run out of story to be involved in, as with Frieza, but also the introduction of an original story that was genuinely mysterious and compelling. It started out strong, with an enigmatic villain who inexplicably resembled Goku terrorizing the already half-dead future Earth and killing Trunks' mother in front of him? What? I still can't believe Toriyama permanently killed Bulma. Or the one in that timeline, at least. Yeah, I know, the entire universe she exists in would be gone soon, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, it was fun speculating every week about who Black really was, and whether or not that was a dead body he was using, and all of a sudden Zamasu was immortal, and Black did what to Goku's family? Oh, sure, Mai's still alive. Okay. But hey, Dragon Ball was interesting again. Unfortunately, the arc sort of fell apart towards the end. I mean, it unraveled, dude. Super Saiyan Rage, totally unexplained power-up that wasn't consistent with what the Dragon Ball world had established and granted a nonsensical amount of advantage. Future Trunks literally went from fighting at an admittedly formidable Super Saiyan 2 level to being on par with, if not stronger than, an adept Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan Blue without any training or as stupid as it is a ritual, just from getting angry. Sure, the Zenkai on Namek that brought Goku's power level from a max of 180,000 with Kaioken to a base of 3 million had a shitty explanation behind it. There's no denying that. But it was still an explanation. We knew why Goku became stronger in that instance. We have no clue why Future Trunks got as strong as he did. Hell, the form only has a name because of Dragon Ball Heroes. We still don't even really know what it is. The only way I can think of for it to make sense, and it's a stretch, and I'm pulling muscle out, stretch, is the exposure to Vegeta's God Ki when Future Trunks fought him for like 5 minutes in the forest, resonated with his body or something, and then later he awakened it for his own super power up. That's ridiculous. That's what you're thinking, right? Well, worse things can and will happen at the earliest opportunity. The fusions of the arc, okay? The fusions. They did more harm than good, wasting one of the best villains in the series history by erasing him for a chatterbox with an aggressively irritating god complex. And in Vegito's case, pointlessly building up the return of the most powerful being in Dragon Ball Z with an extremely misleading preview, only to tread all over his previously existing rules in the episode itself to make his presence disappointingly underwhelming and his impact bafflingly low. And then there's the ending. Ugh. Arceus, that ending. At least it's kind of foreshadowed with the scene back in the garage, which establishes future Trunks can somehow master a technique shown to him once in a video on a phone by someone who doesn't even explain what it is they actually just did or how they did it. Did they really just include the Mafuba to make that clear? Because that plot device went nowhere. Anyway, I digress. Now, I've seen some people start their rant on the ending with the scene just before Trunks leaves to join the fight where he fixes his broken sword, and honestly, I don't see why. Every character forms balls and beams and shit with their ki. It's just energy manipulation. It's not outside the realm of probability to assume future Trunks has some proficiency in that category, even if he can't, say, use a Kienzan. The stuff that goes on in the show is way outside the limits of belief. Like, way out there. But this... Trunks forging a little energy sword, it's not that difficult to accept. I mean, if 4 other characters within the same arc can do it, and Trunks has seen them do it, and Trunks can apparently master a technique on his first try... What he does next, though, is absurd. Future Trunks has never seen or heard of the Spirit Bomb. Goku didn't make it for him either. He only provides his energy later, when he realizes what's happened. Even Trunks wonders what the hell is going on as he looks up to see the Deus Ex Machina materialize in the sky. Allow me to crystallize this. A spirit bomb is not formed by a group of nobodies who want their hero to win really badly. It's a learned discipline which requires great concentration and knowledge of a specific sort of energy manipulation. You have to be taught how to do it by a god. I'm fine with future Trunks easily manipulating his own ki. That's cool. But the energy gathered for a spirit bomb is entirely different and shown to require a lot of effort just to form it into a simple ball. Keep in mind that such a feat is ordinarily ordinary with one's own ki. As soon as Trunks deduces what the sphere above him is, he flies up and takes possession of it, and then he forms it into a giant sword? How? And then he successfully impales a Patara-fused, half-immortal being. The same character who was so powerful that he could toss aside 2 god-tier characters with ease, and who Vegito Blue had to actually try to damage. He impales him, and then he cleaves him in half. I suppose the silver lining here is that from a cinematic and dramatic perspective, the kill was amazing. The problem is, none of it makes any sense. Finally, Zama's immortal soul appears and starts fusing with the universe somehow, beginning an eradication of all its life. If I could interject, what? Anyway, you want to know what the solution is? Goku pushes a button. This calls a god who's higher than all the other gods, who were higher than those gods, who were... And he wipes out Zama's with the entire fucking multiverse? But not before the main characters escape in the time machine, of course. In the end, Trunks and Mai have to go back to an alternate timeline where everyone is still alive, including them, so there's 2 of them. Quick question. If Trunks has sex with Trunks, or Mai has sex with Mai, is it masturbation or cheating? Also, if Trunks has sex with, I guess, past future Mai, or if Mai has sex with past future Trunks, is it cheating? Anyway, I don't know why they wouldn't just stay in the main timeline where Trunks is a pretty cool dad now and they both have tons of friends, but okay. So here's my damage. The end of Dragon Ball Z, or at least the end of future Trunks' arc in Dragon Ball Z anyway, concluded with him becoming strong enough to save his world from the artificial humans and avenge his master. Dragon Ball Super imperiled that world again, which would be fine if it hadn't concluded his arc with him failing to save his world and disgracing his master. The ending in Z wasn't a fairy tale happy ending severely lacking in believability like most of those are. Yes, he beat the bad guys, but everyone was still permanently dead, which isn't typical for a Dragon Ball story. But it was a satisfying finale. Future Trunks began desperate and resolute, and he worked hard for what power he obtained in that arc. What he was fighting for and ultimately won wasn't the chance to hit the typical Dragon Ball reset button, but rather the realistic opportunity to rebuild. And so life moves on and his story ends. Dragon Ball Super makes Future Trunks more powerful magically instead of through hard work, breaks the hero and makes him a failure, destroys his entire world and then sweeps away the consequences in the most unsatisfying way imaginable, and then throws him wherever he might land safely because it doesn't need him anymore. Basically, all of this is to say that I think Dragon Ball Super is more often than not a cobbled together rogues gallery of nostalgia whores for the purpose of selling new merchandise. It should have been the result of Akira Toriyama wanting to write new Dragon Ball stories and nothing else. Yes, I realize Dragon Ball Z only continued after the Frieza saga because it printed money, but the series has been sleeping for decades. Waking it up had to be worthwhile. And so far, I'm not sure if it has been. But anyway, thanks for joining me on this little segment. Next time on Dragon Ball Super Discussion, working title, the female Broly lookalike, who I've taken to calling Brogerly. She's the reason I made this video in the first place. No one seems to be able to shut up about her, and it seems I am about to become a slave to trend. Bloopers! Exposure to Vegeta's God Key. Cod Key? Fish Key, okay, you guys? Cod Key! Cod Key! No! How could I? No! Are you serious? Okay, we'll cut that out. Cod Key! Okay, I'm done. It's fine.